At this point, I think it's safe to say the competition is over. We can chuck this up in the old "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" type of adage, right? During training camp, I had a question as to why there would even be a competition at center, considering just how well Cade Mays played with Bryce Young, down the stretch. But nonetheless, there was a competition. And I do think that to some degree, that competition exists because of what you have signed. We went out and got Austin Corbett in free agency. Austin Corbett was a highly decorated left and right guard, right? And then being catapulted into center because of injuries, because of lack of opportunities, or whatever like that, or in this case, because of a competition that happened during camp. He was kind of put into that position to justify possibly, and I can't say this definitively because I don't know this, right? But it seems like to justify the numbers, right? We went out and signed him in the offseason of that year and, brought him in to play guard, got an injury, and then go out and sign other guards. And then you kind of kick him into the center spot to justify his, spot on this roster. But I think that we all saw something Sunday, and we saw this last year going down the stretch that's just hard to unsee. Cade Mays is a really good center. Cade Mays could potentially be a great center, and he's a great fit for Bryce Young. One of the things you automatically notice, the snaps. The snaps aren't just, flying up this way, going out this way. They're right where they need to be. And it's such an important thing for center and quarterback exchange, primarily because timing, right? Could it be that in these first 2 weeks, part of the struggles came because the timing was off? Now, that does not absolve Bryce Young of some of the things that, we saw: misses, turnovers, fumbles, those kind of things. But when you have good timing, it can change the rhythm and the flow of an offense and potentially even change the way that a quarterback operates because of the confidence in his mind and his internal clock not necessarily being sped up because I'm having to reach up really high to grab a ball that snapped a little sideways, or down this way to grab one and then kind of spin it back in time and be able to drop back and do all that stuff from a timing perspective. So I'm really glad that Cade got his opportunity again. Now, unfortunately, it came at the cost of someone getting hurt, which Austin Corbett, we did find out, is going to be out for about 6 to 8 weeks. But during that 6 to 8 week period, I think you're going to pretty much solidify that Cade Mays is going to be your starting center moving forward. Now, the dangerous part is that if he get hurt, man, it's going to be tough for us, right? We did sign a center previously from Baltimore to kind of come in and, be a filler in that place. You still got Brady Christensen on the roster who could possibly, play some center. But I do think Cade Mays has found his home on this offensive line. I think that the center position is going to be, something that is going to be paramount if we're going to continue on this run of, a good offensive play that we've seen and a lack of turnovers, things like that. Because I do think that some of that may kind of have all played together. Now, again, you don't want to blame, a player for a situation and suggest that he's the reason behind why this happened. But as we can see here on this video, you can just see the snaps come in so much cleaner, right? He's good at blocking. He had an excellent PFF grade, both in pass and run protection, right? Both in the green. And that's just something that you love to see, right? So I think that this center competition has come to a close. I'm excited to see, how this develops, where this goes over time. And hopefully this will be something that'll help, Cade Mays to get himself a contract. I think that if you continue the same play that you've had going from last season into this season with the game that we had against Atlanta, and you followed that up in New England and then against Miami, this is going to change the conversation for him a lot. As far as what this means for Austin Corbett, I made a comment, and, this was before I knew how long he was going to be out, about the potential trade market for him, or whatever, because you do kind of already have the guards in place. I mean, and you don't want to put a guy that's, this is a Super Bowl winning, right guard, right? And so the last thing that you want is to put someone like that on the bench, because when he's at his best, he is at his best, and he's one of, the best in the league, right? At the respective position, not necessarily center, but the guard position, right? So trade would probably be out of the question considering the whole situation with his health. But I would think in the offseason that may change. But, yeah, I think if Cade is playing at the level that many of us believe that he will play with, you guys included, right, I just don't see a scenario where they make that switch. Now, Dave Canales is obviously going to speak it up. He'll be back in 6 to 8 weeks. Hopefully, we'll reevaluate it, see where he is. Maybe the injury is significant enough to where it's like, hey, man, maybe we shouldn't bring you back. Maybe we should help you to rehab and get you ready for whatever team you go to next, unless you want to be a guy that doesn't mind to play behind Cade, that doesn't mind to play behind Damian or Chandler Zavala, who also played pretty well given his opportunity. Robert Hunt likely out for the season, so we could use you, right? So that you coming back and being healthy, you could definitely get snaps in certain places because injuries are inevitable to happen in a contact sport like football. But as far as the center position is concerned, I believe that this is locked up. I don't see a scenario where they turn around and make this change. I think that Cade has pretty much proven his point, right? And I think that this could help with timing. So I look forward to getting back Jalen Coker, and seeing how that works with this offense. It just feels like we're in a moment right now where really early, I talked about this on my last video, where normally we would see these things kind of come together later in the season. But now you're starting to see them come together so fast and quickly early in the season that could materialize and you go on a bit of a run. I think we're going to beat New England on Sunday, right? And we're going to be 2-2, and I think Cade Mays is going to be a huge part of that. But I think seeing Dan Morgan, come up to him after the game, embrace him, was a really good sign of like, hey, I see you, kid. That was a special one-on-one embrace where it's like, I see what you're doing. Trust me, it is noted. We are paying attention. And look, you are going down the right path of being rewarded for really, really great work. But either way, let me know what you think below. Man, I'm so excited about what we got going on with the Panthers, y'all. Like, to have a win so dominant, to have players that are starting to find their way, and the offense is only going to mesh better as we go along. This is going to be fascinating. But make sure to comment below, hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss a video. Till the next time, y'all, keep pounding.